I weren't the first person to actually talk to her, but I reckon I was the first to notice her. She was looking real sad behind the counter of that apothecary shop, sneaking a few glances at us with those beautiful golden eyes. I could tell she was a mutant, of course, and it weren't just the golden eyes and purple hair. She was real cute, but something about her face seemed not quite human. Still, I ain't one to judge. I've met plenty of mutants, and most of them were pretty decent folk once you got to know them. I never did understand all the prejudice. Anyway, it was also real obvious to Seb and me that this girl didn't like the old fella that was running the shop and didn't want him to catch her looking at us. So Seb came up with a plan. "You go distract that shopkeep," Seb says to me. "Get him to tell you about the different items in the corner, and I'll try and find out this girl's story." So I done exactly what Seb said. And while I was talking with the shopkeep, I positioned myself in such a way that his back was towards the counter. "What'd she say?" I asked Seb after we left the shop. Seb smiled and winked a little. "She said that shopkeep fella's her uncle, but she don't like him none. Says he works her like a slave and that he's real mean." At this, I started seeing red. "Well, we gotta do something," I insisted, and Seb nodded. "Right," he said. "I agree. I told her to sneak out tonight after dark and come and meet us back behind the livery." "You think she'll come?" I asked him, barely containing my excitement. And Seb nodded. "I think she will," he said. "I don't reckon she's got much to lose." And sure enough, later that night, as Seb and me was waiting back behind the livery, that girl snuck up on us and announced herself with a sudden boo that made me and Seb both jump. And she laughed, and I could smell the nirvana on her breath. "You okay, darling?" I asked her. Well, she rolled her eyes and said, "Yeah, I'm fine. Right now I am anyways." Now, I ain't saying I'm above taking the occasional hit of nirvana for fun now and then. I've just seen where folks that wasn't careful go and waste their whole lives on that stuff, losing themselves completely in the high that when they wasn't high, all they could do was think about how they was going to get high again. And I feared this girl might be like one of them. She did have a pretty miserable life after all. But Seb took to joking with her, and it was obvious she was real smart, and funny too. But most of all, it was clear how much she wanted, more than anything, to get out of that little town and out from under her uncle's thumb. She said her name was Jacqueline, and between trading jokes with Seb, she'd sometimes turn them beautiful golden eyes toward me. Each time she did, I nearly melted. I don't think I ever met a girl so cute and smart and, well, just perfect. I swore to myself right then and there that I'd do whatever it took to help her, drugs or no drugs. She was something special. So Seb tells her she should hurry back home and make sure she don't get caught. Then tomorrow night, she should meet us in the same place. In the meantime, Seb and me would talk with Hank and see whether it'd be okay if she rode out with us. Maybe even join our gang. Well, she seemed to like the sound of that, so she leans over and gives Seb a little kiss, then reaches over and gently brushes my hand with hers. And all I could think was that I never wanted her to stop touching me. And then she was gone. Well, Hank weren't too keen on the idea of taking Jacqueline along with us. He reckoned the girl's uncle and the rest of the town would likely figure us for kidnappers, and we'd never be able to set foot in them parts again. But Seb and me, we pressed and pressed till Hank finally shook his head and said, "Fine." So real excited, we got the horses ready and watched as the sun moved slowly across the sky. When night finally came, we made our way behind the livery real quiet-like. And just like before, Jacqueline popped up out of nowhere with them big, beautiful eyes shining in the moonlight. I could smell the nirvana again, but I didn't care. She seemed so excited, and I think that for the first time in my life, I actually felt like a hero. I was risking everything to rescue this princess from the clutches of her cruel uncle, and together, we was gonna ride off into the sunset. "Come on," Seb urged us, and we followed him quiet as we could round the side of the livery to the place where the horses and rest of the gang was waiting. "This her?" Hank asked, looking down at all three of us from atop his big horse. "Yep," I confirmed. "This here's Jacqueline." "All right," Hank said. "Help her onto my horse." Well, I was so surprised I was speechless. I guess I'd imagined Jacqueline riding off on the back of my horse, or Seb's horse at the least, but Hank, this is all wrong. "It's okay," Jacqueline said to Hank. "I'm more capable than I may look. And with that, she grabbed hold of Hank's arm and sprang up onto the back of that horse as easy as could be. I think it must have been near 30 seconds I just stood there with my jaw hanging slack. It weren't till Hank barked at me to get a move on that I finally snapped out of my trance. And we all rode out of town, into the darkness, with that little mutant beauty's arms wrapped tight around Hank's chest. As I caught up, I heard her say something like, I helped my uncle make chemicals and such. Chemicals? Hank asked without looking back. Do you know how to make explosives? Jacqueline took a few seconds before answering, but when she did, her words were calm. Sure, she said, I can make explosives.